Hello, and welcome back. Name's Ash. Typically do channel messages, tarot readings, stuff like that. Today is a inspired channel message. Let's go with this. Sometimes I ask for inspiration for YouTube videos. Just 'cause. I try to keep it spiritual and stuff that interests me. So today is a little different, and I feel like I always say that. But today is a little different because, it's something I like, but you wouldn't necessarily connect it to spirituality. Alright, hold on. Ground. Alright, I think we're good. So the episode is about Batman and Superman and Spider-Man. Specifically, though, the 90s versions. Back in the 90s, when Saturday morning cartoons still existed, there was Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, and Spider-Man Ultimate, or Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man, one of those. There's so many names. And I watched all three. And I remember being enamored with the Batman character. He was fucking badass. But before I go too crazy, I'm actually going to read the notes. Can't explain it, but this was an inspired idea. We're going to compare Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man. Now, I grew up in the 90s. Everyone thinks this about their own generation. But I was told it's the golden age of cartoons. It was back in the days when CGI was still kind of new, AI was still kind of new, and it wasn't really integrated into cartoons yet. So all the Disney stuff, all the cartoons were typically hand-drawn. I mean, they were already starting to transition into Flash and stuff like that, so... But anyways, basically, the cartoons had to be put more effort. People had to put more effort into it. They drew. They painted it. It was hand done. And back then I feel like the stories had a little more personality because they had to put such effort into it. They also put as much effort into the story. But that's not what we're here to talk about. The contrast, though, is I felt like the characters actually had personalities and character. The characters actually had character. Sometimes, like if you watch, there's actually a joke. You watch anime, there's just side characters. They don't have personality, they're just there. They're filler. Hi, my name's Bob. I come in every now and then and steal this dude's lunch. That's it. That's my character. But then you have main characters who are like super in-depth and actually develop and have arcs and change. Well, so the point is, the characters had actual psychology behind them. Starting with Batman. Of course, most people know his story. Parents got shot in the theater at the age of 10. Became a super awesome, badass, crime-fighting villain. Superhero. Vigilante, I'd actually have to say. But anyways, now on the outside, they made him a super smart, crime-fighting badass, who was able to single-handedly take down a team of superhumans with no powers himself. Like this guy is able to stop mutants and humans with superpowers and space aliens and monsters, and there's even a movie where he manages to take down the entire Justice League. So it's like this guy, without powers, his trauma got him to a point that he was such a badass. He was almost superhuman. But the cost wasn't just his parents. It was himself. That scared kid became hyper-vigilant. So much, he decided it wasn't even safe to be Bruce anymore. From the two cartoons, because there's, the specific ones I'm talking about, and there's actually three, is Batman the Animated Cartoon and Justice League, which they actually carry the same character dynamic into that show. So it's essentially the same character. Because, every couple of years, they come out with a new Batman series. The Batman, Batman the Dark Knight, Batman the whatever, and each version of Batman's a little different. So they actually kept the animated series Batman and transitioned him into the Justice League. Well, in both shows, plus Batman Beyond, he's also the same character. He basically, I'm not even sure if he says the exact words, I think he did, but he basically says, or has the ideology, he doesn't even call himself Bruce. There is one episode he says, I don't call myself Bruce. It was an episode, he thought he was going crazy, because there were voices in his head saying, Bruce, do this. And the new Batman's like, well, how do you know you weren't crazy? He's like, the voices in my head were calling me Bruce. I don't call myself Bruce. I'm Batman. And he even admits it. So he basically took away Bruce. There is no Bruce Wayne anymore. It's just Batman. So essentially what he did was he stripped away the human. He stripped away his original identity. Basically, he's aware of his issues. He even makes a joke to Wonder Woman in Justice League. She makes a pass at him, saying they should go out to dinner. And he goes, you're an Amazonian goddess princess from another world, a realm, like you're from another dimension. I am a spoiled rich kid with issues. Lots of issues. Like, he's not dumb. He's aware of what's going on. He's aware of himself, and he's aware of the trauma. He's aware of how to heal it. But the thing is, he never heals because then he wouldn't be Batman. Batman was born from trauma, in trauma. They make a joke, he was born from darkness. And if that darkness goes away, then the very persona of Batman disappears itself. In fact, when they made the new Batman, the Batman Beyond, they essentially did the same formula. They picked a kid, decided he was going to be Batman, and they actually went to assassinate his parents. But they failed, and his dad ends up actually dying anyways, and he still becomes Batman. So they decided this character specifically lives in their trauma, and they live in hurt and pain and shadow and darkness in order to help others. But the deal is, it's at the cost of himself. Self-sacrifice for the greater good. Okay, there's one persona. Now his counterpart, Superman. Very opposite, literally yin-yang. Superman's an alien baby. Lived on some planet called Krypton off in some quadrant of the galaxy. And his planet was being destroyed, blew up, and he got sent to Earth. Now, babies do imprint. Babies do remember trauma. In fact, from the time you're born up until 10 years old, you remember everything that actually shapes you as a human, or a person. That develops your personality. So when I say he partially remembers the trauma of his planet blowing up, but not as bad as like Batman, who witnessed it right in front of him, Superman didn't have the same trauma. In fact, he had a pretty good life. He was raised in a farm in Kansas by two really wholesome people. Like, really good salt-of-the-earth kind of people, like good people. So he essentially was raised up as a healthy human, something we do not get to see these days. And then the contrast plays out, because he didn't necessarily have hard struggles like Batman. I mean, sure, he was a human, went to high school, got picked on, had everyday human struggles. But it wasn't like some kind of crazy dramatic, just anything. In fact, even his parents, the parents who adopted him, they died natural causes. They died of natural causes. So it's not even like someone went out and killed them and they had to go and get revenge. No, it's just, they just croaked. There is a sparkle on my camera, and it bugs me. I don't know where it's coming from. Oh, I see. Anyways, sorry, ADHD brain at the finest. So, Superman basically didn't have the same moral backbone that Batman did. He essentially developed the actual superhero complex, a hero complex. He became an idol. They're like, well, you have these superpowers and you're not human, so you should do good. You're different, which sets you apart of everyone else, which means you should protect them. Because you're stronger than them, you should protect them. And he develops a hero complex. The pillar of light. The always perfect, always infallible. Same word, I know. But basically, always light. He's always perceived as light. Good. Batman's always perceived as dark. He's the yang. He typically thinks dark. He's morbid as hell. In fact, he even made a plan to kill his teammates if he needs to, in case any of them ever turn evil. He knows how to kill them. What kind of man plans to kill his teammates? Like, someone who lives in the darkness and assumes the worst. And then you got Superman, who wants to see the good in people. But if you don't have any kind of moral backbone, what's that saying? You stand for nothing, you fall for everything. What was the rest of the saying? Then you build your castle on a marsh, and then it'll sink into the swamp. So in the Justice League show, Superman snaps. There's a human named Lex Luthor, who's his big bad guy, his main character bad guy. And that human finally gets a hold of one of the characters and kills him. One of the actual killable ones. Because some of them, obviously, you shoot Superman with a gun, it's not going to do anything. But getting off topic here. So, you get, sorry, a distraction. He kills one of the heroes, and Superman snaps. He's like, I'm done. He's like, I can't do this. He's like, I'm busy trying to protect these people, and yet they're over here fucking shit up. So he snaps. He completely flips and goes, you know what, we're done. And he actually becomes a dictator. He actually kills the dude. You will give it a minute. Anyway, sorry. There's a dude in the car next to me with his windows all rolled down and shit, and I don't like people eavesdropping. So, I lost my train of thought. So he kills Lex Luthor. He goes full-blown dictator mode. F everyone. I'm sick of this planet. These humans need to settle their shit. And he actually takes over. And he actually goes as far as they create a time machine and go back in time and takes over that world too, to stop the event from happening. So he actually completely flips. He doesn't care anymore. Like, there's actually, there was a contrast where he lobotomized one of the bad guys. Superman's always, the hero code is you never let them die. You beat them up, slap cuffs on their wrist and say, get back to jail. You're not allowed to kill them. Well, what he did was he actually nuked the dude's brain with his lasers. Like, he straight up shot his lasers into the dude's brain and liquefied it. And he goes, alright, lobotomized him, get him to jail. Everyone's like, whoa, what did he just do? Everyone's like, yo, the superhero went dark. So, next personality. Then you have Spider-Man. Typical nerd. Had a standard life, all the way up until he gets bit and starts gaining weird superpowers. So he ends up developing the powers, getting the powers, kind of like Superman, because there's that old axiom of absolute power corrupts absolutely. Kind of like Superman. At that point, he was done. No one could stop him. Except Batman, but Batman was actually on his side. So then Spider-Man, a normal kid, gets powers. Typically, that corrupts people. You get powers and it starts feeding your ego. How can this benefit me? But then the hero story kicked in, and he lost his father figure, his uncle. So then, since the timing clicked together, he decides to use his powers to be a good person and help others, the typical hero story. However, unlike Batman and Superman, he's still himself. Batman and Superman essentially cast away their human. For Superman, Clark Kent is just an identity. He's really Superman. He's always Superman. There is no Clark Kent. Even when he's at home, sure, they call him Clark, but he still acts as Superman. He has his powers. He does his stuff. He acts like himself. Same thing with Batman. Like I said, there was even a time they admitted, he's like, there is no Bruce Wayne. It's just Batman. Bruce Wayne was literally just a means to an end to get things. He used Bruce Wayne's connections. I'm gonna have to turn on my light. Oh, maybe not. We'll see. I kind of did it a little late because it's not as loud other than me. Anyways, I've been off my notes for so long, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. So Spider-Man, though, he continues to be human. He ends up being the true, in my opinion, the true epiphany of a hero. Because now he's trying to balance being Superman, or Spider-Man, and Peter Parker. He still has to be a person. He still has to pay bills. He still has to get up and feed himself and buy milk. Especially from that one scene. So, but then he comes around and he's at the same time he's Spider-Man. He has to be Spider-Man. That's he never truly learns to integrate the two. In fact, that's one of Spider-Man's biggest dilemmas, is he never learns to integrate. It's either or. There's always a cost. If Peter wants to have a good day, then Spider-Man can't. And if Spider-Man wants to have a good day, then Peter has to suffer. Like, they can't balance out. It's always a give or take. Now, we're talking about the cartoon version. Now, this one, he was, let me actually just start reading. Typical nerd, blah, blah, blah. Decides to use his powers in the cartoon version. Learns through consequences. Growth. Through suffering. Not reflection. Let's put it this way. So the psychology behind all of it is, for Batman, basically people, whenever they experience trauma, they tend to stop developing at that level. I've noticed it in my life. My stepmom, to use her as an example, stopped mentally maturing at high school. And you could kind of tell based off the way she talked. There were hints that she still thought of herself as the cheerleader in high school. Like she never moved past that point. My dad never moved past that college boy, the party college boy. So, Batman, he was able to mature past being a 10-year-old boy. Partially. Obviously, he said he admitted that 10-year-old boy will never heal. But he was able to almost mature through it. Spider-Man, however, continued to have issues and had to grow up because he lost his father figure. So everything he didn't get to know, he had to learn himself. Guess how you learn? You fuck up. You make mistakes. You make choices that don't align with what you do or what you say. So again, that's where the whole Peter Parker Spider-Man thing works. Sometimes Peter is just so sick of being Spider-Man that he does something that goes against what he originally said. He's like, I'm going to be Spider-Man, I'm going to help people, and then he does something just because he's sick and tired of it. He's sick and tired of being Spider-Man, so maybe one day he doesn't help someone. And then he beats himself up because he made a mistake. He effed up. But instead of reflecting, he continues the pattern and makes the same mistakes. He never truly sits down and takes the time because he doesn't have the time. He's split between two worlds. He doesn't truly have the time to sit down and rest. So he's never able to truly sit down and be like, oh, well, what did I do wrong, or how could I do this better? For instance, he loses a girlfriend. In fact, I think he almost loses the second one the same way. I mean, he's still a little immature. He still has issues growing up. He got stuck. So he's trying to be a good person, trying to be a hero. Well, he has to mentally mature. But then he's off being Spider-Man playing hero. He lives in constant guilt and bottles up his emotions to keep functioning. Instead, he actually uses humor to deflect everything. There's one comic book specifically, The Secret Wars, when Captain America kept trying to get him to join the Avengers. He's like, Spider-Man, dude. Like, we're literally going into battle. We could effing die. And you're over here cracking jokes. Like, how do you do that? He's like, unhealed trauma. That's the only way I can process it. You know? It's because he doesn't, so the psychology behind that is being stuck. Essentially. Spider-Man is stuck. He's a stuck human who can't move forward. He wants to. He never truly got the balance. The other two completely abandoned their lives. That's how they were able to do it. They're like, we're human, or we're not human, we're heroes 100% of the time. But Peter truly had to struggle. And in my mind, that made him stronger. Why? Because he had to. He was forced to grow. He couldn't stay the same. And he tried his best. So now we're going to start getting a little weird. Moving from comic book heroes to anime. I was going to talk about villains. But in comic books, I feel like they're more dramatized. Like Batman, my parents got shot at the age of 10 and I became emotionally traumatized. The Joker, I was a petty thief criminal and I had someone backstab me, and while I was trying to run away, I fell into a liquid vat of toxic goo that actually rearranged my DNA and permanently scarred me, also altering my mind forever. And it's just like, okay, well, that's just one. Well, then you got Clayface, who ended up having a horrible accident, was actually atomized and turned into clay. So his physical DNA structure was, and it's like, all the bad guys, I feel like, got super dramatized. But of course, that's how you get superpowers too. It's like you had to have some crazy thing happen to you. So we'll get to the point. But instead, we're switching over to My Hero Academia. Big shift, I know. And I apologize about the light. I'm like glowing red. I didn't think the sun was gonna drop this fast. I forgot I'm in Texas. So we're just gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna do this the best I can. You know what? Hold on. Yeah, no, sorry, we're not fucking with it. So I'm just gonna get to the point. We're almost done. I'm gonna do my best not to spoil the show. So if you haven't seen My Hero Academia, I would leave, or at least, I don't know, cover your ears at certain points. I'm not going to give away too many key points, but this one basically grays out the area. In superhero movies and stuff like that, you have hero and villain. Good guy, bad guy. Good guy, bad guy. However, if you listen, you hear the stories are the same. They don't really make it obvious, but you listen to it, they will say it. In My Hero Academia, though, they make it more obvious. So, what they do is they gray out the whole area. Sure, there are good guys, sure, there are bad guys, but they actually explain how bad guys form. They show you the path of the villain and the path of the hero is the same. So let's do it. Let's do it this way. So Shigaraki is one of the main bad guys, and he wants to destroy. He wants everything gone. But that's because he has so much pain in his heart that he doesn't know how to do anything else except unleash it through destruction. But in reality, he never actually wanted that. He wanted to be a hero. But the world, society, and his family told him he was a villain because they were scared of him. They were scared of his powers. It wasn't even his fault. It turns out, this was a spoiler, it turns out it's not even his fault. So he didn't even technically do anything wrong. But then the main bad guy, he did. He actively chose. From birth, he actively chose violence and evil. He chose to be hateful and hurtful and destroy. Even to the very end. He admits he fucked up, in a sense, but he never changes. He's like, no, you're supposed to do what I say. That's my purpose in life, is for you to follow me. So the point of this story is, what is good and what is evil? I don't even really have an answer to that question. I want to say good and evil doesn't exist, but it does. And I forgot to bring this part of my notes, but I actually looked up the definition of evil. Evil is technically when one person causes you harm. Spiritually, the same way. Anytime anyone causes you harm or is out of alignment of love. So if it's not love, it's harm, it's evil, it's hate, it's fear. So that's a really black and white definition, though. Because that's one of those is and isn't. Because that's crazy. So, like, anything that's not out of love. Well, obviously, if I'm a robber and I am trying to get this person's money and I shoot them, well, that's out of fear, that's out of anger, that's out of hatred, that's out of negative emotions. Well, that's defined as evil. But then, here's the kicker. What if I'm a 10-year-old kid and I'm angry? And I speak out of my emotions. I hate you. Well, that is consciously choosing to hurt someone and speak out of love. So that's technically evil. What? Interesting. So you're gonna tell me evil is black and white? Not in my mind. People can do evil things, people can do good things. But that doesn't technically mean they themselves are good or evil. Just as I was just got done saying, I do partially believe that any act outside of love is not love. Fear. Evil. So yes, in that aspect, that 10-year-old kid you could say is evil. But I'm trying to water down the word is what I'm trying to do. So if you want to go by that textbook definition, yes. But then if you do that, doesn't that mean everyone's evil? Because we all hold the capacity to hurt one another. I call myself out, do it all the time. I'm doing better. But it's like that simple, someone cuts you off in traffic, you get a little angry, you cut them off back. That's evil. That was not out of love, that was out of fear. That was out of anger. That was out of impulse, emotions, reactions. That was technically evil. So I do it. I react. Now are we going to sit there and get down on ourselves and be like, oh my god, I'm a horrible person, I'm an evil person? No. It's just I'm trying to first break down the judgment of saying this is evil and this is not. First, we're going to remove that and just put it in a color of gray and say, okay, hold on. No black and white, just gray. So now we're going to go towards the lines of My Hero Academia. Pretend heroes and villains don't exist. What the villains are just hurt people who wanted help, but couldn't get it or decided they couldn't. Or just were rejected. All it is they tried to reach, some of them tried to reach out for love and tried to reach out for help. And they got rejected. So what's the alternative? Turning to hatred, turning to anger, turning to fear. Does that make them evil, though? No. That makes them a product of a fucked up situation. A really messed up society. Again, if you want to apply that in real terms, there's a homeless man on the street. You're walking down the street, and he tries to mug you. He even stabs you. Is he evil? Well, in that definition, yeah, he's trying to hurt me. I consider him evil. But the dude is just trying to feed himself. So is a man evil for trying to take care of himself? I'm even messing up my own mind talking about this. Okay, now let's take this a step further. We all know killing is bad. Killing is evil. Murder is evil of any kind, for the most part. However, the government calls it good. We're going to go in over here on this country. I'm not talking about politics. I'm not saying anything about any president. I'm just saying in general. We developed the military and said, okay, we're going to have a dispute. We're going to send our men over there, and we're going to kill them. Why? Because they're trying to kill us. And you're like, well, yeah, that makes sense. But hold on. We got this thing called the 12 Commandments, who says murder's a sin. It's literally like, I think rule number 1, don't murder each other. No murder. Thou shalt not murder. Literally the first fucking commandment. So God's telling us it's not okay to murder each other, but then the government's literally training people to go send out and kill them. But when it comes to being on our own streets, if I were to go out and murder someone, well, that's not okay. That's not okay. Even though if it's in my personal interest, even if that person is trying to murder me, normally that I would get off a little bit better because I was just trying to defend myself, but murder's still murder. I still killed that person. It's still possible. I could still actually go to jail, even if it's out of self-defense. You could still go to jail. But yet, when you get trained and the military gives you a gun, you go to the next country, it's okay. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say yes or no, that's good or bad. I'm just simply bringing up a point. Because now let's put it this way. Bruce Lee is a pacifist. And you're like, hold on. For those who know, Bruce Lee is one of the most well-known kung fu legends throughout all of time. Dude's a fucking icon, a legacy. But it's like, why is he a pacifist? In fact, someone even asked him, it's like, Bruce, you talk about love, but you literally could kill anyone you want with your bare fists. They could have a gun and you could still kill them. It's like, how could you sit here and talk about love when you're a killing machine? And he goes, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. He goes, violence is not the answer, but when it is the answer, it's the only answer. How does that make any sense? Well, like I said, get back into that situation. Maybe I'm in a scenario where someone just won't be reasoned with. He's trying to kill me. Or worse, maybe my family. Maybe this person's trying to hurt me or my family. I'm gonna kill him. I'm sorry. If it comes down to it, it's me or them. Absolutely, I would. I would take him out. I would do my best not to, but if it absolutely came down to it, I would take someone out. So easy to say that now. I mean, obviously we don't know what would happen in the situation, but Bruce Lee would do the same thing. He hated murder. In fact, he felt extremely... You watch his movies, and his character would always feel remorse. For the most part. But then it got to the point, he also truly believed that the only way to stop the men that he was fighting were to kill them. So again, it's like... So what you're saying is, the rules of good and evil don't exist. It's all based on a matter of perception. In fact, I'm not even going to say it's evil anymore. I'm just going to say it's normal. It's just normal. In fact, the media propagates it all the time. Like, I can't get on Instagram without seeing a murder case. I'm on Instagram, dude. Like, kids get on this websites. I just want to look at art. And I'm scrolling through, oh, someone just got shot in the parking lot for blah, 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 blah. I mean, whether or not it's real or fake news, it's like, are you fucking kidding me? To sum it all up, good and evil does exist. But it's not an outward force and it's not an inward force. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's the choices you make on your day-to-day basis. Because think of it this way. One person's hero is another person's villain. Let's go back to the military. So we have our troops being told that these people are bad and they're going against everything we love. They're evil. But then you go over to their side and they're getting fed the exact same info. Hey, we got these people over here in the other country who are coming to fight us. They hate us, and they're trying to stop us, so they're evil. But then they see themselves as heroes. So it's like, good and evil is literally just a matter of perception. It's all a matter of perception. Honestly, and unfortunately, it depends on what fits best at that person's situation. Depends on your moral code. As effed up as it's gonna sound. For instance, that mugger, let's go back to that, like the mugger is trying to steal someone's wallet just because he's needing money. He may very well have believed he was justified. Because somewhere society taught him, in order to survive, he has to take from someone else. So in his mind, he could very well be right. And that's the terrifying part, is we could justify murder. And it doesn't matter if somebody else agrees or not. I mean, obviously there are always consequences. I'm not saying just go out and do murder because you feel like it. There is a consequential world. There are still things. But the point is, someone invented this system to determine what good and evil is, and they don't even follow it themselves. So, you think about that. I don't know. I really just mainly wanted you guys to question stuff. I don't even know why I did this episode. Really. Maybe someone needed to hear this. Let's put it this way. Stop beating yourself up. We're people. Sum it all up. We are neither good nor evil. We are just an accumulation of choices we make throughout our life. We are people, and we do our best. And I tell myself this all the time. I do my best to remember this. Because like I said, we automatically quick to judge and say, oh, that person's trying to hurt me, they're evil. I'm human too. Sometimes I instinctively react. You know? We're human. But then putting this thought in the back of your head, that's what I'm trying to do, is a reminder Maybe we're not evil, maybe we're just human. Because some people do truly believe human nature is absolutely evil. I don't believe it. We're both. We are what we decide to be. So. We only judge and label based off of fear. We determine it's evil because we're scared of it. You think of it that way. There's really no such thing as good and evil. There's only love and fear. That's all there is. Either we love it or we fear it. Anger, hatred, all that stems from fear. So if we react negatively from it, it's because we fear it. I can't even tell you how many times. So many times in movies, you can just see the movies where it's just like someone gets scared and shoots the aliens and fucks everything up here. It's like, this is how the human race dies. The alien says, hey, we come in peace. Let's shoot him. Yeah, I guess that's it. My voice is officially starting to go and I want to go inside, so. Strange episode. I didn't think I would be using superheroes. There goes my hero, his ordinary